Hey everyone, this is Higher Ways Woman, also known as Catherine Toleradon Masters, aka the TLG. I have a story for you that just happened, and I decided I gotta do this video. I can't type this out. I got to do it video. What I am about to tell you, I just absolutely love this. I have a couple pets, felines, and one of them, she is going on, let's see, 10 years of age. She was born in 2011, so she's 10 years of age. And November of 2011 is when that I gave up my home and moved in with my mother to become her 24/7 caregiver. And at that time, she had 17 cats. And to talk about a food bill and such. Well, I ended up being able to thin this down. We got it down to just two, and they were brothers and sisters, and we kept those two. And the male, whom I called Apollo, oh, he was beautiful. He looked like what you see the crescents of these the family, seals. Like you see the lion with the mane, and then the short hair on the body, and then the long hair on the tail, and Apollo looked just like that. Solid black, very tall, very, very tall, and kind of spindly, thin. He was never one for a lot of weight, and which absolutely enabled him to basically fly. Unmanageable, the high set, he could jump, reach and stuff, which is absolutely amazing. And when he would sit there and trot across the grass, the way that the light shimmered off of him was just like watching this light shimmering on water. Absolutely beautiful. I was able to get him tamed, allowing me to pick him up, etc. And I was able to bring him in the home. And he would go to the door and be looking out the door, screen door, and looking at me. And I'm trying. Baby sister's out there. She's just not so trusting. The brothers, they love, attention from us sisters, so they're a little easier. And so it was so precious how he would go to the door and and it's, yes, honey, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Start off with the getting hot dogs, meat, stuff like that, and have a string. Those are the two things that will help you achieve taming a feral animal faster than anything, especially when it comes to cats that, they love to play strings. They love strings. And so it was eventually that, I had this feeling inside of me so strong that I literally ached, yearned to hold her. It was so powerful, and it was like that I knew that there was something very special between us, that there was going to be this incredible bond. And that drove me even more to work with her as much as I could and play with her and finally be able to let her, where she'd let me pet her. And of course, the place that you want to reach them at, where they will be very receptive of your touch, is scratching right at the base of their spine to their tail. That's the honey spot. They're down there. They're like pudding in your hand. You got them. And of course, under the chin, the ears, you know. And I will never forget when she let me not just pick her up, but that she would allow me to hold her. And we were able to bring her in, integrate her into being an inside outside and highly intelligent, very, very intelligent. She's coming around. And as much as I would love to show my pets, um, I am I've always been apprehensive because as those who have known me for a long time know that my pets have been targeted and horrible, horrible things done to them. And so I do my best to keep their identity hidden until, um, well, anyway. So she, this one day, now this, I hear this is just Mother and I. This one day, I was telling her about the abilities that animals have and cats. And I would tell you one of the secrets. How is it that we communicate with animals and they communicate back? I cannot take the credit for this knowledge, for I learned it from an a reader, an animal reader, and I wish I could remember her name, but I could tell you that she has been highly requested by zoos and all over the world. And I want to say Patricia, but I'm not even sure about it. But if you look up psychic, animal psychics, etc., she is probably now into her late 60s or so. And you should be able to find her very easily, especially the story where that a zoo had lost, there was an elephant that had passed away, and the herd was not eating and not be doing what is natural for them, and very concerned, they had called her in, and she picked up on that they had lost a member of the other herd, and she asked if they happened to have kept any part. And they said, one of the keepers said, actually, that he did. He decided that he wanted to keep the skull. He just had this feeling that that is something that he needed to do. And so I had packed it away. And she directed him to put it out there for them. And elephants are like us, that they need to be able to have that grieving and to be able to touch their loved one who has passed. And we know that heard stories of where they will make journeys to where the bones of a member has been, even for years, that they will go back to that very spot. Well, 1 second, honey. They placed the skull, excuse me, and all the elephants, all of them, would sit there, take their trunks, and they would just feel all over, loving on that member. And it was kept there for for however long it was needed, and it was what the herd needed. And they began to eat and do things and return to their vibrance and their health. And when she was asked about how is it that she is able to communicate so well, and they and animals with her, and she said this. She says it's pictures. And of course, it wouldn't be words, but pictures. They would show her pictures and she would show them pictures. And so I had put that to the test. I had this one cat that was starting to reach juvenile age right at this time. And I would have these pictures. I would look at my cat and have pictures of me tossing this mouse, her going after it, getting it, and bringing it back and putting it down for me. And I would throw it and, of course, play these pictures, play them, and go after it, bring it back, play them. And I kept doing this, and within, I'm not kidding you, it's about 20, maybe 30 minutes, tossed it, she went after it, picked it up, and brought it and put it down just exactly like that I had pictured it. Like at the feet. There you go. Ready for you to throw it again. So this is how it's done. And so I showed my girl, and I was telling her about that they have very special abilities and how they can give back to us because they are members of the family. When you have pets, of course, they're members of the family. They want to give back, they want to be able to do. And so, you being able to show them what they can do to give back, to be a member of the family and doing, and what their responsibilities are, etc., that increases their vitality, the bonding, and especially extending their years as well as their health. So I was telling her about the therapeutic abilities of just laying with a person just laying there, allowing it, being petted and them purring, that that is very healing. That is their gift, and etc. And so it was like she took right to that. And my mother, that she would literally go back and forth between us. When one was in more need, she would be with that one until they were doing well, and then the other one is in need, and there she was. And it was really no more of always wanting to go outside, because brothers always wanting to go outside, others. It was, no, she understood that her role is healer. And oh my Lord, there was the gift. It is said that, of course, that animals do not pick. We don't pick them, they pick us. Cats are very psychic, absolutely very psychic. And they say that if you have a cat that shows up your home and that is being directed by the angels, by the Holy of Holies, the Celestials, they are directed to be there. And it's for you to be accepting of this, whether that you may just keep this one as an outside pet, provide a protective shelter for it, food, and you will find it will be revealed to you why that they have come to you. And it may also be that you are the one to help them find a home where they are to be, who that they belong to. That's my girl. My girl has ever been. She has been such my heart healer, very gifted. Well, let me tell you what happened today, just a little bit ago. I went in, it was time to make them something to eat, time to feed the feral outside cats. And so I walk in, kitchen, and I see her sitting, just picturesque, and down at her feet is coiled this snake. And it's about, maybe a yard long. And it is a garden. It's an Oklahoma garden snake. And it's coiled up and it's kind of acting like, it's fixing to strike. And she's just in this stoic position looking at it and looking at me. And earlier, she had been around my bed. And I kept wondering that the way that she was behaving. I thought, well, I wonder what she's doing. Well, maybe she's getting, trying to get one of her toys or something. And so I just kept working on on the business that I had at hand. And little did I know that what she was doing was corralling this snake. And it tickled me so much that this thing is actually like, well, it's going to just get after her, and she's just like, yeah, don't think so. No, don't think so. Of course, I get a stick because first thing you want to do, you don't want to hurt them. Any of these, doesn't matter what type of snake, you know. But get a stick and kind of get to the head. So I kind of lightly hold the head away, kind of down, grab the tail. And of course, at first, it's not happy about this situation, but I am projecting the color yellow because yellow is a very calming color to animals, and it is also one that not only calms them, but will literally make them receptive. And I have some stories that just will blow you away about using that, projecting the color to an animal that, especially rescuing, and how they let me handle them. So anyway, or this a stick, and I get this snake, and I pick it up, and at first it's starting to get, it ain't happy. It's like, no, you're okay. You're okay. Ain't nobody gonna hurt you. I project that this is not your environment. I project outside and me letting it go. And right at that time was that it settled down. It settled down. And I had a certain spot I wanted it to go into. And at one point when I had was setting it down and holding up where I wanted it to go, wasn't doing that. And no, we can't go. And it was like, generally they will fight you, you know, that it had a chance at freedom, by God, and you're taking that away. And oh no, this ain't gonna be good. This ain't gonna go away. I don't know. But it was like, no, hang on, and it just filled right down. And I got it to where I was wanting it to go into because I know where it came from. It was like it literally the image that I projected is exactly between the boards and the ground and the tarp, exactly where I showed it, where I pictured it, and let go. And it just took its time. It's going in instead of it's getting out there. And so here it is. Here's an opportunity to teach this about communication with our animals, and not only with our animals but the animal kingdoms and such, and to see that this snake to relax the way that it did. Now that is an enormous compliment. It is an incredible compliment, and it's in a gift at the same time, because how precious is that, you know? And it reminds me of. I want to add this right quick that when I lived in this townhouse on the outskirts of Oak City, there were three buildings one side, three buildings on the other side. Of course, thoroughfare parking. Then on the back side, two buildings, one each side facing each other. So anyway, uh, I was in the middle building, the one where that my backyard was where the main road, a country club is. And then we got fields all around us, and pastures with cattle. One afternoon, I come out, and the next town building up from me, the very first one, is a mother and daughter. And the daughter, grown woman in her 30s, got kids that are like was 14 or so. So anyway, one's got a shovel, the other one's got a hose and a rake, and they're just going after something that is where their the daughter's townhome is the one that's on the very end, and then the next one is up about 4 feet and goes over, so it's outset more to the rest of the building. And what in the world are y'all doing? There's a mouse. There's a mouse. Oh yeah, there's a mouse right there. There's a mouse. And it's like, my God, that poor thing. I think it could be that poor thing is terrified out of its life. So I sit there, I go grab a 5-gallon bucket out of my backyard, and I come around, and and please turn off the hose and everything on it. And so I go to where this inset is, and I got the bucket, and this thing jumps on top of the bucket, and it starts coming up my arm, and it gets right here, and it's looking right at me, and I'm shaking my head. No, this is not the way to go. It turns around and goes back down, jumps down, And so I get the bucket in a position where that I could corral it into the bucket. Of course, put the lid on it, and I'm going to release it across the street in the field. And they sit there and they ask me, said, well, how come you're not afraid of it? I said, well, for one, it is more afraid of you than you are of it. I said, it's not a threatening species. I said, I promise you that it's absolutely terrified of you all. I said, all it wants to do is get away. When an animal, insect, stuff that are meant for outside environment, there are times where that by accident they end up on the inside. All they want to do is get back out into their environment. Believe me, they want out there just as bad as you want to. And I said, so I told him, I said, so there's no reason to be this afraid of them. I said, this thing, if you would have just left it alone, it would have, especially after spraying it, it definitely would have taken off elsewhere, and you wouldn't have seen it ever again. And so it's interesting, why is there such this kind of fear, Why would we have this kind of a fear over an animal, over this life that is not a threat to us, Why is that reaction there? What is with the screaming and jumping up on the chairs or whatever? What is with that? And I tell you that I would, yeah, let's go into this, because generally that whenever this movement, I have totally, yeah, there we are. Now I can see me again. Um, I've learned that the Celestials are wanting me to talk about certain things and to teach it, to share this knowledge and this info. And so let's continue. Let's continue with this, because this I've got some kind of fun stories that I think that you all will enjoy. So I have, oh, for those who may be seeing this for the first time, just right quick, I am a death experiencer. October 1992. I happened to be in the hospital where 12 hours later, or no, 10 hours, sorry, 10 hours later, 8 o'clock in the morning, the fatal tumor so did take my life for 14 minutes. And so I am a death experiencer. And I was shown a lot, taught a lot, and share everything that I can. And so let's get right back into this, because this is very interesting. I kind of have fun telling this one. That now everything created has a soul, has a spirit. Everything created has a spirit, has spiritual energy, has a spirit, has a soul. And I learned, yes, even homes, even vehicles. And just think about that for a minute. Consider that when a person has moved out and it has not been lived in, let's say for 1 year, that the house looks like nobody's lived there for 50. Yes, our spiritual energies, our soul, yes. Whatever that we handle, what we create, what we invent, yes, we are putting our energies into that. We are giving this life. And so, absolutely. And of course, there are those that are naturally um, have a soul, already have a soul, do not need human imprinting input to have that. So, okay, let's go to this one. I was being taught about this on all levels and on into vehicles, etc. So now, wolf spiders. I don't know why they're called wolf spiders. We don't hear them howling at the moon or anything. They live in the ground. Here in, I live in western Oklahoma, but you find in the western area, territories and stuff, that you'll see it between a dime to a quarter in size hole in the ground. That is a wood spider or grass spider. And they are absolutely like garden snakes, bull snakes. They are farmers and people's best friends. They do not like being indoors in our habitat. And if that happens, which is very rare, it is absolutely 100% by accident. And so, learning about how to communicate with insects, animals, and stuff, well, all of them have a soul. This is all tied in together. So, um, I love wolf spiders because they will get rid of your venomous ones, your venomous spiders, and of course they will get down to help keep down the destructive insect populations. And they are very shy. The absolutely very, very shy, bashful type spiders. They, as soon as they hear our footsteps or our voices, they're in the ground. And so it's kind of hard to be able to get one to come up and let you see it. And there's different sizes and colors and what have you. But to me, they're all very cool. Pretty much all spiders are pretty cool. But anyway, um, I had quite a collection in my backyard. And at one time, I think if I remember right, I counted up close to 70 holes. And it's like not much any other place, but boy, I tell you what, I sure had quite the family of it. Well, there's one day that actually I had been kind of relocating some of them, being able to kind of get them up so far and take a shovel and to where that I can get enough of dirt around them and what have you where I'm not hurting them and I can relocate them. Well, anyway, so I thought I seen this hole and I moved this blade of grass back and okay, yeah, it's a wolf spider egg in a hole. And all of a sudden, I'm not kidding you, it not even quite about the size of a dime, maybe. This pure white spider. I have never seen a pure white spider, but this was a absolutely 100% pure, solid white spider. It come running up there and acting as if that I'm trying to break into its home. It comes up and it raises up on me, and it's like, okay, hey, little one, just checking. And it charges me, and I get tickled at it. Okay, now play this. So I take a couple steps backwards. Well, so it charges me again. Moves about 4 inches towards me. Okay, so I back up a couple steps. I'll keep playing. Oh, it's getting braver now. Man, it's charging me more. And I'll back up. And then at one point, the thing jumps. Okay, goes about 3 feet. It's jumping at me. Nope. This is where we stop. Okay, we're done. We are done. So cracks me up. This itty bitty spider going to take on this giant because you just know what it's going to be like at the supper table that night. Let me tell you, kids, what I did. I took on Goliath. It was literally a David and Goliath situation. And this huge old species that was trying to break into our home, I protected my wife and my children. And I ran this big old mean giant away and protected our home. Oh, yeah, there you go. There you go, Dad. You protected the home. God, you ran off that giant. You know, how funny. How funny. But it is, now I tell you, I've told people about that when you see a spider in your house, think about, don't move, let me get you out of here safely. This is not an environment for you. This environment can kill you. I am going to get you to your environment where you belong. And I tell you, when I returned with a jar and an envelope so I can put the jar over it and slide that envelope in between and nudge it into the jar, and hold it. And then take it out, and release it. And wherever it is that I am in need of them and where they're not so likely to turn around and come right back in. Now, let me tell you on that. There's a, I lived in this one apartment on the second floor. It's a two-story apartment complex. And I had this flycatcher in Oklahoma. Our flycatchers are kind of short and stocky, and they are solid black. But on their back, they would, or towards their abdomen on their back, they would have like these little white dots on them. And they can be variants of the color stuff, but generally and they're the ones that they're really cool. That when you move and stuff, well, they'll turn and they watch you, and they're not venomous. They're not going to hurt you. They say that my grandma told me that she had one that bit her one time, and it was not even close to being like a bee sting. And so it wasn't as many as she's handled. It's like there's no fear of them, really. There isn't. And anyway, I had this one, and the apartment right below me, right at their balcony, was a rose bush. And so I would that's where I delivered him. I get a leaf there, get a stem of it, and get it up in there so they'll get up on the leaf or whatever, you know. And then the next day, I'm seeing this flycatcher, and boy, that sure looks familiar. And I literally had this flycatcher end up back in my home in pretty much the exact same wall that I kept finding it at, and I would take it a little further down the way, and within a couple 2 or 3 days, there it is. I was like, okay, we're gonna have to get you, out in the fields because I do not want you getting hurt. This is too cute. And so I did. And I would even have garden spiders. I had this one that made its web at my back door in the townhome that I lived at. And this one year that it just happened to be the first time that I'd have a garden spider that made its web there. And actually, it was at first had its spot outside my fence, and my fence stood out further from my one the next town home that was just on the other side of my door, my fence. And there's a guy, he wanted it at his yard. And so he scooped it up and took it to his backyard, and it disappeared. He hadn't seen it for about a week or two. And I found that it was right there at my back door where the fence come up and the house was, and that's where it made its place. And they're big spiders. And they have a yellow and black abdomen, and it's kind of like in a V formation. And when they make their webs, in the center you'll see a zigzag. And they're very interesting to watch. One of the ways that what they do to help catch their food is they'll bounce that web, and so anything that's flying by, it's able to capture. And I would sit there and spend quite a bit of time just watching this 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 really cool arachnid. It is not a threat to me or anybody. It gets rid of the bad ones that you don't want around, the bad insects, etc. And I'll never forget that the first time that my brother and his wife ever, ever really came down and visited, and they're going to crash at my place. Great. Well, my mother is scared to death of spiders. And what does my sister in law do but tell my mother that I've got this huge garden spider at my back door, and my mother is about having a cow. Not gonna visit. And well, Mom, it's at the back door. You don't come through the back door. But wintertime was coming, and excuse me, I needed to find a place that it could hibernate into, that I knew it would make it, and I knew that we didn't have that. And so I had got it into this huge jar, and it was really interesting that the feeling was like about to lose an old friend. And I tell you, this was really striking me very strange. You got to be kidding me. Really? This can exist? A spider and a human? This type of emotions? Really? And so I had gone to this one place, it's way out in the country, and the old farmhouse, it had burned down, and nothing more was going to be done. There's an old shed, lots of different things from the ages, around. So I knew that this would be able to find the perfect hibernation place and would be able to carry on the next year and so on. And I had finally encouraged it to finally to come out of the jar, the big jar, and that spider would not move. Most of them would run away. And I could feel that it did not want me to do this. Wanted me to take it back home with me. That's home. But I kept feeling like there are people that's too big of a threat. There isn't what is needed. But I wish I would have. it was something. It's really hard to explain that. I never would have, I never ever thought of something like that to ever be. You know, that's really kind of almost crazy, really. But it's the truth. It's exactly what happened. And I've got something else on that to share with you. This stuff is very true. We do have this connection. We do have this ability to interact, and these insects are very highly intelligent. I mean, we have thought so lowly of them, and yet here they are so highly. And so I have told people, I said, here, test this. When you see a spider in your home, think, stay there. I'll be right back. I'm going to get you out safe. And when you return, more times than not, you're going to find that spider sitting right there waiting. And then the other one is to think, I'm going to kill you. We're going to get this you, and you're dead. You're gone. And I tell you, watch how fast that they're out of there. I mean, it is just amazing. And so, if you want to test this and see for yourself, that's the way to do it. When you see a spider come in, or you see one where you don't want it to be, first thought is, stay right there. I'm going to get you to safety. And then the other one to use, the next one is, I'm going to kill you. And watch. You will see it. I had this one flycatcher here. This has been about 5 years ago. I got my mother by this time where that she was, I got her over that experience that she had as a child that made her terrified of spiders, and that was back when she was growing up. That an outhouse, and the outhouse there was the latch got stuck, and there was this big spider in the corner. She was a little girl screaming. Nobody was around to hear her. She's screaming, she's terrified. So that's what made my mother absolutely terrified of spiders. When she would see a spider, it automatically took her to being that little girl stuck in that outhouse with this huge spider. And so, yeah, it's interesting about how that we have these fears that these phobias, and how that they are passed down even. And so I was able to get my mother literally to a point where that she do the catch and release. And so anyway, this big flycatcher, mom seen it. Okay, mom, I get it, jar. I take it out to my little pet cemetery, and I've got this beautiful plant that's about 3 foot so tall, and down at the base part of it, I'm able to get this flycatcher to get on the leaf. Well, next thing I see, man, it's going from leaf to leaf to on its way up, and it gets to the very top leaf. I mean, cannot get any higher than this leaf, and it gets to the very tip of it, and it's sitting up on its hind legs, and it's literally reaching out to me. It's reaching out to me, wanting me to pick it up. This is the first time that I've ever had this experience, wanting me to pick it up. I'm not used to that. I'm not so sure about that. I have not ever, I've never cuddled with a spider, arachnid, nothing like that. And I, oh my Lord, oh my Lord. And so, okay, the bravery, all right. And the hand, and it was just amazing that the spider was very content, It would kind of come up to a point and it's like, no, come on, not, I'm not into this part of it. This part, okay. And then one point, I put my hand to the leaf and it jumps on a leaf, and I am just astounded by it. And so give this a try. Now, I'm going to tell you this right quick on that color yellow, because I really feel like I need to inject this. That there was several years ago, I'm sitting on my porch and it's getting around dusk. I have my Apollo, and across the street from me is this empty lot, and big old huge, I love the tree there. And I see something dark on the ground, and I think first it's a cat, but then the way that my Apollo is looking at it, I get this feeling, I don't think that this is a cat. And so I go over and I get within about 20, 15, 20 feet, and I see it's a hawk. And so I come back to the house because I know that for a bird to be on the ground that is not on the ground like this, something's wrong. And I get a pair of leather gloves, and I happen to have a box absolutely perfect. And so I am walking up to this. It's called a Kite Hawk, and they are indigenous to, excuse me, Mississippi area, but they will migrate across the Mississippi coming on the west side. They will migrate even here to western Oklahoma. They will have their babies, and then they will all fly back to Mississippi, back to the southern states. And so, as I was getting upon this hawk, and it was hopping away, and I knew it was injured. Of course, it was, because it's not flying away. And I immediately start thinking about the color yellow, and that I am covered in yellow. And when I did that, all of a sudden, this hawk settles down, and it allowed me to wrap my hands around it gently, around its body and its wings. And I tell you what, its little paws, its feet, as thin and spindly as they look, you wouldn't think that there was a lot of strength in there. But I tell you what, when it was grabbing hold of the leather of my glove, it was pulling the leather so tight around my fingers that it was hurting and literally cutting off the blood circulation. So it was amazing, the power, the strength in their feet. And I've got something going on outside. I got to pause this. I promise you I will be right back to find out what's going on here. Okay, let's keep going, because I'm telling you, this is going to be worth listening to this story. And so, put this hawk into this box, and I took it to a local game warden, and George, good man, good man. I knew that I could not have placed this animal, this life, so in better hands than George. And so I had seen that it had blood coming from its beak. Now, Mississippi kite hawks, that when you get nicked by their nest, um, they're the ones that will dive bomb you. And you can be 2 blocks away, and that's too close. And so generally they're not one to inflict harm, but sometimes collisions do happen, and this one had quite a collision. And so I think it was about 5 days later, that George tells me that, hey, the hawk has recovered just fine, been eating grasshoppers and drinking water, and so he took it clear on the outskirts west of the city and turned it loose. And so it was about 2 days later, kind of late one afternoon, nice day, very cool. I decided I'm going to take a walk. And I seen this kite hawk that's sitting on the power line that's right here in front of our house. And I go up to the next corner, and I'm going up that direction, and I see the hawk flying to the power line that's up ahead of me. And then I go down the next street and I see it. So as I'm walking, this hawk is following me. And I return home, and I sit there and I'm looking at this hawk, and it's like, this is really peculiar behavior. And I see this aura around it, which is, I am an aura reader, and it's one of the abilities that is very simple for me to do. One of the many abilities that I've had since my death experience. But anyway, that I see this aura, this bright white aura around it. And then all of a sudden, that I see this picture come to mind of me wrapping my hands gently around this hawk's body, placing it in a box, and so forth. And that's who this beautiful life is. And they have a call. I'm kind of dry. Well, that's close to it. I would have, even my mom, she would, in the morning, she goes, "They're calling for you." And I would go out, and sure enough, they're calling. And it could be time during the day, evening, that mom goes, they're calling for you. And I'd go out and I would do that sound, and they would, of course, nest in the trees around me. And when they're juveniles, they look like peregrines, Merlin hawks. They're beautiful, beautiful. And when they reach adult years, they will turn a solid gray color. Oh, I almost forgot to tell you all this. The eyes. The eyes are a maroon color. When I picked up that hawk and looked into its eyes, I was just so blown away, astounded by the depths in which I saw in this bird. And it was like taking me back, almost like saying beyond time. And it was like I could never have imagined life in such times. And, we've got all these Egyptian, hieroglyphs and on and on and on. Excuse me for a minute. Pardon me. But it is nothing compared to what I saw when I looked into this hawk's eye. And I about went to my knees. It was very humbling. And I felt like that I was in the presence of a very high, majestic being. And to think that our how we are taught to perceive animals and birds and stuff, that how we're taught to perceive that. It's like there is nothing that can be so far from the truth, from reality. It is just, it's crazy. It's crazy that to have that lower mentality towards them. It is pretty much like if I was one of them and I'm looking at a person, I would be thinking lower species. I would be. And I wish that our language is better than what it is, that would enable me to be able to describe not just what I saw, but what it all made me feel. I can tell you that I have never, ever, nor would I ever let anybody direct me to think lowly about any animal, even an insect, and even trees, because I tell you, and stones as well. It's amazing how much that the Illuminati, the skulls in them, that they have dummied us down. That's how much that they have taken away from us and taught us, like the stupidity of the three main food groups. Every day you're supposed to have meat, vegetable. It's just something else that what they've done to people, what they've done to us. But thankfully, the soul is not ignorant. It is not stupid, nor can you stupefy it unless that would be a sad case and happens that as a child that the adults around them are into Satanism, into evil. I mean, that's what it will take to stupefy the soul. But it cannot hold the soul captive for the duration of its existence. That's the problem that they've had, that they've been trying to overcome, because that the soul will awaken. And what you will see is people, especially up in their years, will go the only way that to try to right the wrong especially that I was misled, that what the project I was working on, that I was led to believe that this was a benefit to all mankind, only to find out I was lied to, that it was not beneficial to mankind. It's only beneficial to those who want to keep ruling and keep stealing and thieving from all of us. So that's the big problem they have, is that they cannot keep the soul stupefied asleep. Okay. And so what I hopefully have given you here is some very, very tangible, powerful, strong evidence truths, because absolutely, if you've been really listening to the resonance of my voice, the way that the words that I have used and spoken with, you would know absolutely I'm telling you the truth, that there is no deception whatsoever. I cannot do that. And I can even prove that I cannot lie to you by, I have NINDS, the National Institute of Neurological Disorders or Diseases. I have them, that the type of surgery that I have, that they will tell you that it makes people like me, that unfortunately who has had to go through what I went through, that we lose the ability to lie. And that may not seem bad, but I tell you, there are times when there are situations where the truth shouldn't be said, because those who are present will not use it for the way that the truth should be used. So it's not such a good thing to not be able to keep certain things hidden. But also that's a fact, that being a death experiencer, that I know the spiritual laws, and anybody who is a true death and or near death, because these two are very different, and it doesn't lessen the other. I'm just telling you, there is a difference between a near death to a clinical death. Of course, clinical death is that you're dead. You are flatlined. They are doing everything they can to restart your heart. You're clinically dead. Near death are these that are close to being at that point, but their heart hasn't stopped, or that it may have stopped for about maybe 1 or 2 minutes and you're back. Okay. But anyway, there is this difference. But I can tell when a person is telling the truth. Um, of course, I've had more time with this, and have been able to develop this tool, this skill, in that the resonance, I can tell that if they are being straight with me or with people, or um, get rid of this one. Don't listen to them, shut them down, send them on their way. You know, they shouldn't. Don't allow them to be really among people. These are the kinds that they develop cults and get people to do crazy, stupid things. But anyway, aside from that, I hope you have enjoyed that my stories. I hope that it has helped you, and that I've had responses, feedbacks. I'll never forget this one from my dad, who had 2 or 3 young children, early elementary, and they would go out into, go off into the woods, and they would literally look for insects and stuff to interact with. and as well as with plants and trees. And excuse me for a second. Pardon me. That yes, trees. Yeah, yeah. They all are also living cognitive beings, and they will reach out to you. And I've seen it done to with people. They've recorded it, and there has absolutely nothing that can be detected to make the branch to do the reaching out. And it was interesting that because from that, now I become aware of it and literally have had it happen. And let me add this to this right quick. When the government, when you have something that they're mocking, and they want you to think that that is a sign of mental illness, these people are crazy, that right there is a big red flag. Look into it, research it, because the time that they do that is when there is something very true and powerful there, and they don't want you to know about it. And so, tree huggers, all this going, oh, yeah, that's really big sign of mental illness, people wanting to protect these trees, don't cut down these trees, I love this tree, hug these trees. Well, the research that I found is this, that trees literally have the ability to take your pain, and they can as well take your illness. Now, when I learned about that, um, from one of the adverse effects of having surgery done on the skull, um, is one of the things that you can end up with is the most horrific, god awful diagnosis of trigeminal neuralgia. They call it, the nickname is the suicide pain, and which is rightly so because no other pain has caused more people to take their lives over than trigeminal neuralgia. And one day that I was very bad in trigeminal neuralgia pain, and I remembered about the trees and the pain. And the townhouse where I lived, this one, I took very good care of the trees, but there's one that was like this, and it was literally like getting up into the palm of a hand. And so I got up in it, wrapped my arms around the branches, and laid my head on the side that was hurting the most, and just wrapped myself so that if I fell asleep, that I'm not going to fall out injuring myself. And so, about 45 minutes into this, all of a sudden, my pain is easing. Now, trigeminal neuralgia, that doesn't work like that. I've had it where that I've been denied treatment, even when the ER knows exactly the medicine to prescribe me, to give me, and let me go home. And the next day, the next morning, I'm on my feet, and you would never know that I have had battled such a horrific diagnosis. And so I can tell you that it's true. At least it was with what I tested. Everything created has a soul, has a being, a spirit, and Now that you know that, begin doing your own tests and you'll see. And take your children and show them, because they're going to be able to help you probably see things faster, quicker than you'll be able to, because children are very susceptible, very sensitive to this. For as it's said, our senior adults, they think and dream about the past, and children, the young, think and dream about the future. And children do not really need to be told about that there is a God, there are angels, etc., that exist. They are born with that knowing. And it is very typical for them to see angels and see Jesus and so forth. And so, absolutely take your kids out, and they will help you to see. So, anyway, I enjoyed this. I really had a good time talking about this. I've missed this type of interaction. And, oh, since now that we're at the time of our vegetation awakening, blooming, and budding, I'm going to tell you how to make your vegetation be very healthy, grow well, grow a lot, and produce a lot of blooms or a lot of whatever the fruit or vegetable that you planted that you're wanting. And this is very simple. I take a 1 gallon jug, hydrogen peroxide. I will take the cap off the hydrogen peroxide, and I generally get like oh, can't remember the size. It's a bottle about this big, half of a quart of a half a quart, something like that. Anyway, I filled the cap up, hydrogen peroxide, poured into the 1 gallon container, and then I will go around to my trees and my vegetables and stuff, and wow, the results are very immediate. I'll give you an example. There was a particular flower that my mom loves. And for Mother's Day, I got her this flower. It's got these dark, rich green leaves, and they're kind of fuzzy, and they've got these beautiful little red type. I wish I could tell you the name of the flower, but I can't. But anyway, she had it in a flower pot on the porch, and it looked like that it was laying down. And really, the way that it looked, most people would throw it away. And I was about to do that when I thought, well, hey, I'm going to just give it some of this hydrogen peroxide water and let's give this a test. Let's see if it can really do this. And so now if you do a bowl, you would take like a cereal bowl, put 3 drops, get your little dropper, 3 drops, don't go anymore, maybe 4, but don't go anymore, okay? So 3 drops, that's what I put into this cereal bowl of water, and I poured it over the plant and into the dirt real well, okay? And about 4 hours later, that when I went outside, I happened to catch out of the corner of my eye. I couldn't hardly believe what I saw. I turned around and looked at this, and here's this plant went from laying down to standing up. I kid you not. This thing was withered up. It looked like that it needed to have been buried, tossed out. And this plant was upright. The leaves were off there was not one part of the plant that was on the ground that should not be touching the dirt. Should not be touching the dirt, not on the ground. Should not be touching the dirt. I just couldn't hardly believe that it made that big of a difference that quick. So hydrogen peroxide, easy enough to get, and also now I have crepe myrtles, and one year that when I treat my trees with this, and the blooms on my crepe myrtles were so much that the branches were literally drooping down. And so I backed off of it to where that instead of doing it every month, that I let them tell me that if I felt, basically ask, give you hydrogen, special recipe, not because it might be that I might only need to do it once 2 months or a third month because it was at the time there's so many blooms that there needed to be this time before the next watering. And so this is a big key. And you're going to be amazed at what your plants are going to do with using water with hydrogen peroxide like I just directed. So anyway, I'm out of here. I've enjoyed this time. I hope you all have too. I hope that you all are doing well. Things are improving. Keep the prayers going. Please keep me in your prayers because I am still dealing on the hospice level. I am trying to get things set up where that what I want to do, what my goal is what time I got left, I want to be able to go out and help people, and I want to be on the road. And I'm on disability. I don't have the money for it, but my faith and my trust is in the holies of holies, and that there will be people who will come along and who will believe in me and see that I am a straight up sister. What I tell you is the truth. And the amount of people, loved ones' lives that I have saved, that I have released them from a life of just nothing but existence to activity, etc. I am telling you the truth. And I could use the support to help me to do this work. I feel like right now that what I am doing is making deposits, and that these deposits will be able to help the groups that come across it, or the person who has it can share it, because we're in such a time of uncertainty, and they are wanting to take away knowledge that is so needed for treating health problems. And I have made a lot of enemies in this in medicine because that I was in medicine. Like I said, I was 2 years from having my doctorates in radiology and gastroenterology, so I am not a doctor. What I just said is that I was at the level, I had the knowledge, and I was performing at the level of a doctor, but I do not have a license as one. And so through it, because that I was being refused proper care and being told I'm just a drug seeker, I'm just a doctor jumper. Well, okay, you want to act like that, you want to do that, really? Well, then I am going to turn back. I'm going to turn to the natural pharmacy, where medicine came from, its origin. And it's from that I was able to discover and shown that how these medicines, how well they can and do work. And I love sharing it. I love being able to give this, because there's nothing better for me to get back at all the bad mistreatment, even to this day, because even this day that I have a pharmacy that um, lied to me, and they know that, excuse me, that I cannot go without certain medicine, and they held this with a ransom. I come up with $75 or I don't get it, even though that my insurance company has always paid 100% on it. But if I wanted to get this today because it's due, I am out because it's the due date, and so they got their money. I would have loved to wipe my butt and handed it to the pharmacist who did this. But anyway, keep me in your prayers, because, as I said, they really despise that I share this knowledge and these truths, and they think that I have betrayed them. That, when you have to be in certain fields at certain levels to get access to certain books, like the Vatican and stuff. Just not anybody can access, certain books and certain information. And so, oh dear God, I betrayed them in the worst kind of way by telling people that has absolutely no therapeutic value whatsoever. Radiation has no therapeutic value whatsoever in treating cancer. I was blown away when I read that. And I am not going to say anything further or more on that, because that I have and I still pay dearly for. And I can, along with the fact that I have reversed neuropathy, I can cure your Crohn's, irritable bowel, colitis very easily. One medicine, and I can cure it. But I'm going to stop there. This time I really am stopping. I'm going. Enjoyed this. Y'all take care. Blessings be to you all. Help each other. Continue with being understanding and loving towards each other. Namaste, everyone. Namaste to you.